Welcome to the Yana Empowers podcast. And today we're going to talk about conflict and a bit about conflict resolution, but mostly what conversations can look like where you can hold firm to boundaries, maintain curiosity and respect, and build healthier relationships without wondering, gosh, how do I say this? Avoiding conflict and sometimes pushing people away because you're avoiding conflict. So today, if you struggle with conflict avoidance, hopefully this helps you learn how to speak up with clarity. We're going to talk about neuroscience backed insights and tools from communication experts. Some people I love, like Chris Voss, even though he talks about negotiation, it helps with conflict because he's talking about how to be empathetic. And empathy is key to all our conversations, even within conflict situations. Our goal is to have healthier, more connected relationships. So if you're anything like me and you grew up in a home with an abusive parent, you may have mistook silence for peace. I have, right? And it is a natural phenomenon of being raised in abuse. I thought that avoiding conflict meant that I was being kind, but what I was really doing was abandoning myself. Give yourself grace for this. Obviously, when you're a child, it is not your fault that you were born into abuse or treated that way. And even if you're an adult, we make mistakes. And it's all a learning process. It's all a healing journey. That's why it's called a journey. But our goal here is to learn how to not avoid conflict and abandon ourselves and abandon our authentic feelings with things. Because why? Well, we want to have healthy relationships. We want to give the good guy a chance, right? But why do we avoid conflict? Okay. This is all rooted in a nervous system response. Your fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So many trauma survivors, especially from emotionally unpredictable homes, default to fawning or freezing. I sure did. Okay. You're prioritizing harmony as a child for, well, obvious reasons, survival. If your parent seems to be dismissive of you or abandons you, even if they treat you differently than some of your siblings, that is a perceived danger. It's a perceived threat to your life as a child. So that sticks. That's in your subconscious. But this avoidance, this teaching through our childhood that we can't say how we feel for the fear of being abandoned, for the fear of being dismissed, doesn't really give us a good blueprint for what a healthy relationship should feel like. And avoidance creates resentment. It creates disconnection and it creates self-betrayal. So you don't actually feel safe with your parent when you were a child. Your mind starts to forget memories and things to try to make it make sense for you to stay because, again, survival. But whenever we want to have healthy relationships and we've had enough time to where, we've had some time to process our childhood and we still kind of struggle with this, how hard it is to build trust if you feel like you are constantly betraying your own needs and constantly betraying how you feel, not speaking your voice or speaking how you're feeling to your partner for fear that it could cause a rift and a division, that it could cause them to want to leave. And frankly, their behavior isn't your responsibility. And I want to say this carefully because when you love somebody, and you want them to love you back, if you hold yourself back, you hold your true self back, even if you hold your emotions back, there's a healthy way to talk about how you're feeling without being reactive, right? That's what I'm talking about here. So if you're afraid to talk about how you really feel with your partner, who you want to love you, you're not even giving them the chance to love you for who you are. You're not giving them the chance to actually be more connected to you. So you're doing them a disservice. If you're in the state of being in a relationship or being in even a friendship and you have held back a piece of yourself, it creates more dissonance. It creates more disconnection. It's really hard to have a very close friend or relationship with someone if you show this behavior pattern. So a tool that we can use whenever we're having conversations is to hone into curiosity. Sometimes there's a story in our head and it's painting the picture of what's going on. And it may not be true, believe it or not. Sometimes the story in our head paints a picture that makes us feel victimized or that we're not being seen. Now, this can happen a lot more often whenever we deal with CPTSD, when we've dealt with a childhood where we weren't seen and where we were being controlled, where we were being manipulated, all of these things. Sometimes a story in our head is only going to make sense of danger. It makes sense of danger very quickly. It picks up on it very quickly. But believe it or not, sometimes the story in our head is wrong, or the story in our head is picking up on very small clues that used to mean danger, but don't mean danger anymore. And obviously, if we're in a relationship and we want to have a healthy relationship, this can be an adverse effect. In Chris Voss's teachings of tactical empathy, this is something that's helped me a lot with how I communicate. To have empathy, to start with curiosity, means that you're not going to just fully accept the story in your head as true, but you're going to give that person a chance to show and tell their side of the story. Even if the story in your head is, oh, my partner just walked in, he looks angry, and I think he's mad at me. If it's like that, then you can start with, it seems like, start with curious tones to label what you're seeing. It's not saying, are you mad at me? It seems like you're upset. What's causing you to be upset right now? Can you help me understand what's upsetting you right now? It looks like you're upset. And that opens up the conversation. Okay. And they might have a little bit of a defensiveness if you're coming at it from like an anxious state and you're afraid that you're the problem. That can kind of like rub feathers sometimes because you don't want to make your partner feel like a monster, right? And that can be challenging in itself. But it's okay that you feel that way. It's okay to express that you feel that way. It's okay to say that. Like, it seems like you're upset and I'm worried that I did something. Can you help me understand what's upsetting you right now? That is such a more lightweight conversation, but you're not ignoring the problem. You're not like, okay, maybe I'm just in my head and like you're in here talking to yourself. And then your partner's like, what's wrong with you? And if they're already upset, they're like, God, my partner's not talking to me now. Like, damn, my day just got so much worse. This is if you're in a healthy relationship. Okay, guys. So in developing that healthy relationship, I'll say some other examples of how you can say this for any other situation. It sounds like this really matters to you. Can we talk more about it? I'm wondering how we can move forward in a way that works for both of us. Can you walk me through what you're feeling right now? Why does curiosity work? Curiosity calms defensiveness. It's signaling safety. It's signaling that you actually want to hear them out. And the brain receives it as a connection, not a threat. So tip number 1, lean into curiosity, even when it feels scary, and label what you're seeing as it seems like or it sounds like. And can you help me understand? Which opens up the conversation. So how do you set boundaries without guilt? Well, boundaries are not walls. They're not always walls, right? They're bridges to a healthy relationship. When I set a no contact boundary with my dad after an episode where he put his hands on me, no contact was the healthiest boundary for me that allowed me to love him still. Like, I still loved him. But if I would have allowed him in my life more and more after that, I wouldn't have felt safe by him. I would have felt more hatred towards him. If I hadn't set that boundary, I wouldn't have been able to love him how I needed to, right? No contact may seem like a wall, but it is actually the way for you to keep love in your heart. So not all boundaries are no contact. That's like an extreme boundary, right? But what does a boundary say? Well, a boundary says, I want to stay connected, and this is what I need for that to happen in the situation of a healthy relationship that you want to keep. A boundary says, I want to stay connected, and this is what I need for that to happen. A boundary can also say, I need to prioritize my safety, and this is what I need for that to happen. This is what I need to feel safe in our relationship. Our relationship may be changing, and this is what I need to feel safe. These are all examples of what a boundary can tell somebody and tell yourself. Boundaries are not just for other people. Boundaries are also for you. Setting boundaries within yourself is a thing as well. So a principle from Chris Voss's teachings that I'm implementing in today because I think he's awesome is mirroring and labeling when setting a limit. So it sounds like you really want my support right now. And I also need some time to recharge before I can be present with you. Or I hear that this is urgent for you and I want to help. Here's what I can offer today. Your tone matters more than the content of what you're saying most of the time. So be calm, be warm, be clear, and be confident in what you're saying. If you're not sure about what boundary or what type of boundary that you need to set, take some time within yourself to really delve into that. And sometimes you can say, hey, I'm not sure what I exactly need in this moment right now, but I do know that I need time to figure that out. And I'm not very comfortable with how this is right now. Something of that sort. Like I'm not feeling very comfortable about how we're going about chores. Some examples. So how can you practice being assertive with empathy? Because saying things the right way can be challenging. So what you want to do is combine validation with clarity. And that framework looks like acknowledging their feelings, 1, 2, expressing your truth, and 3, offering a path forward or a pause. So, an example of this, I can hear that you're frustrated. I care about you and I want to keep this conversation respectful. Let's come back to this when we both feel grounded. And when it's necessary, when things get heated, you can say this: I'm not willing to be spoken to like that. If we're going to continue this, I need it to be respectful. This is not rejection, this is emotional safety. Now, I'll tell you what, when you're in a narcissistic home, you're not going to get a good answer. You're never going to get a good answer, okay? But when you're with someone that you're wanting to build a healthy relationship with, and that person treats you with respect and kindness, they should be able to hear this pretty clearly. Okay, so here are some more real life scripts and some takeaway tools that can help you in these conflict situations. So here's a few phrases for avoiding defensiveness. Help me understand what makes this important to you. I'm noticing I feel overwhelmed right now. Can we pause? Here are some phrases for firm boundaries. I'm not available for that. That doesn't work for me, but here's what I can offer. I'd like to revisit this conversation when we're both feeling more calm. Practice the late night FM DJ voice, as Chris Voss might tell you. So that's a calm and slow and intentional tone. So your tone regulates the energy in the conversation. It's a very helpful way for you to try to navigate conflict without escalation. So, to sum all of this up, conflict doesn't have to mean chaos. It can be an invitation to a closer relationship, to more intimacy. And you might subconsciously fear that because of your childhood experience. So it can be hard to get to this point where you can believe that conflict can be a chance for a deeper connection. But that time will come, and the more that you practice, the more that you'll realize you get to build very beautiful, close relationships with people that you choose, especially with your choice of partner. And when you use your voice with both compassion and clarity, you're not just healing yourself, you're modeling something more powerful for everyone around you, especially if you're deciding to have children someday. You're helping break that cycle of abusive behavior and that trauma that can be inflicted with that emotionally dysregulated type of environment. We want to support a safe place where emotions can be expressed. And that's not a reactive environment. That's an environment where you can say, "Hey, I'm feeling this thing. I'm feeling this way, and can we talk about it? Do you have space to talk about that with me right now?" This is a healthy way of discussing troubling things, even joyous things too. When you want to share something that went well in your day, you want to feel safe to express that. So kudos to you if you're choosing to heal. Kudos to you if you are choosing to make a better environment for your future and the future family that you might plan to have. And for the family that's around you right now. The more love that you can spread, the better, right? So I hope that you can come out of this reframing conflict as an opportunity to deepen your connection and deepen your sense of self-trust. the more that we are authentic with ourselves, the more that we trust ourselves to be able to take care of ourselves, feel safe within our own body and in our relationship. Being authentic is one of the hardest things, but also the first steps to having closer relationships. So if this episode empowered you and helped you feel like you have a little bit more confidence when you get into a conflict situation or want to have a hard conversation with your partner and deepen your relationships, make sure you follow or subscribe, and feel free to PM me on Instagram at Yana_Empowers and share your stories with me. I hope this goes well for you. It certainly has helped me. So thank you again for listening. And I pray that you're well, and I pray that love and peace enters into your life. Thanks for listening to the Yana Empowers podcast. Hope to see you again. Thanks, guys.